Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today. I am Marsh, and we have a special edition today in SimWorld today. We are all SimWorld U focused, and we're bringing in special guest Sniperrr J to talk about it all. Good morning, Sniperrr. How are you?
I'm doing well, Marsh. Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're excited to get you, and we had a light day yesterday in college hoops, which gives us a chance to kind of dive into the minutia of it all. So we got a little bit of Mountain West conversation. We're going to talk Princeton and their historic season, but let's start with the bubble watch. This is one of the more interesting seasons where it pretty much seems like Sniperrr, the top 40 45 teams are all sitting around 500, which tells us that the likelihood is we're going to get some teams that are not only a couple games under 500 but even down to 4 5 6 games even potentially below 500 that are going to be sneaking in as the bottom seeds in Hoopsteria. So I'm curious, from your point, who are the bubble teams to watch now as we really start ramping up conference play and we're looking at about 10 to 15 games left here in the regular season?
Absolutely. So the bubble team that I have on my list right now, we can start with actually the Stanford Cardinals. Their strength of schedule makes them bubble team, and they're a middle of the conference type of team, Marsh. But the Pac-12 is no chase for them, so I think the conference will help them in the long run, and they have some notable wins on the season, like Villanova, Davidson, and USC. So that's one of the teams that I think is definitely on the bubble watch and could be scary if they make it in. Another team on the bubble watch that has a lot of talent is Miami. They got a two-headed snake out there. They're on a two-game win streak right now. And again, they play in that tough ACC conference. Again, that's a tough conference. And some notable wins that they have is Illinois, SMU, Purdue, and Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech was ranked in the top five. A third team that I have on my list is Boise State, led by Carmelo Looper. And some notable wins that they have is Davidson, Purdue, and Gonzaga, right? And the last team I have on this bubble watch is Marquette, a real young team, but the back end of their schedule is really tough. And I think that's going to help them in the long run with the committee. And some notable wins that they have so far is UConn, Georgetown, and Illinois. And they're on a 4-game win streak, Marsh.
Well, let's start with, I think the most interesting one on that list is Miami, because I feel like that's a team that early on this season almost got written off, right? The defending national champs, the high expectations coming out, you deal with the Kevon Jackson injury, and they've been really poor for their standards considering last season they didn't lose any games, or excuse me, they didn't win any games by less than 10 points. They've really turned it on as of late, and to me, I'm curious, I should say, the Georgia Tech win. How far do you think that gets them? Because that was the tentpole win for this program to say we are back to trying to be a Hoopsteria contender, not for a championship, but just to make it there. How important was it, in your opinion, in the eyes of the committee that's going to select them, was getting that win over Georgia Tech?
It was a huge win. I mean, it's no small task to defeat a team in the top 10 of the rankings. And honestly, it just moves the needle a lot for them because of the team's ranking. Now, if Georgia Tech was to fall off and maybe get out of the top 25, I don't see that happening. Maybe that win is not as important as is it going to be later on. But for right now, this Miami team, again, beating a team like that on a 4-game winning streak, they're trending in the right direction. And if they keep trending in this direction, they're going to make it in, and they're going to be a really scary team because of what they did last year and the momentum that they're going to be bringing in.
Let's go to Boise State, and we'll talk more about Mountain West, but Boise State is an interesting team, right? Because they had one win through late December, and then Christmas Eve comes around, and they get a little Christmas miracle by beating Rutgers. And since then, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 5 over their last 11 games. It is a team that's completely different than that 1 and something start to begin the year. What's changed with this Boise State program to make them into what we thought it could be like as bad of a Syracuse season. Here we are talking about them maybe not even making Hoopsteria, but potentially even winning the Mountain West.
I think they found something that click out there on the court. I mean, they found their momentum. It took a while, yes, and they were losing, but as a bubble team, that's expected. So your season's not going to be the best, but that's the reason why you're on the bubble. But when it's time to play basketball and win games, that's what the bubble teams do, and that's what Boise State is starting to do. They're starting to figure it out. They're starting to find their confidence, and they're starting to win games, Marsh.
So, of the four teams you mentioned, so you gave us Marquette, Miami, it was Boise State, and then your first one there. Remind me who you had as your first team.
Stanford.
Stanford,
Interesting.
thank you. Of those four teams, how many of them do you think get into Hoopsteria? Are you think all four sneak in, or are these like the last four teams into the bubble? Maybe like a 2-2, two are getting in, two probably get out. What's your thought process?
I'm thinking two of these teams sneak in, and I think two of them fall by the wayside. I Right now, if I had to take a vote on who get in, I'm thinking Boise State is in for sure because of the Mountain West Conference. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking Miami sneaks in. I think they keep their season going and they keep this win streak up, or they win some notable games in the ACC because you got some teams up there, but Duke, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. Those are games that they got coming up that they could win and that could really push that needle and making them a low seed and a scary seed in Hoopsteria.
Yeah, you'd love to see Marquette make the run, but they still have to get St. John's. They still have to get Villanova. They still have one more matchup with UConn. They've got another matchup with Georgetown, who they did blow out by 30. But it would be tough to see them sneaking in there. But certainly they've got the big win already on their track record. Falling to Villanova already, though, that's a tough one. All right, let's stay with maybe the underrated or underappreciated teams. Let's go to Princeton, who climbs up to number 7 in the latest SP Top 25. That is the highest ranking that the program has ever achieved. Their previous high was number 8 back in the 90s. What has been so impressive to you about Princeton, and what's their ceiling? Is this a championship team, or is this just a really good story?
Princeton, man. I can't praise them enough for how they've been playing. I mean, I really like their offense. They can score with the best of them when they have to, and they play defense, Mark. They really do, and they can get stopped. And this team's just been climbing the ranks. They've been climbing the ranks, and they haven't been getting credit, but they're a really good team. And right now, they've made it to the top 10. But I don't think this is a championship team. And I know that's gonna hurt some people, and that's gonna ruffle some feathers, but this is not a championship team. They haven't they haven't been there yet. And I'm a big man of experience. I know you're a big man of numbers, but look, hoops theory is no joke. I mean, everybody comes to play, and people may see Princeton and may take it easy on them, and that's just a simple fact because they're Princeton. But I don't think this is a championship team.
What would they have to do to become a championship team? Because I don't disagree with you. Experience certainly does matter. It's tough to find too much experience in college basketball because you have so many guys that are very transient within the program, whether that's leaving the program for another via the transfer portal, which SimWorld U has not really entertained, or whether it's leaving for SWBA or professional league elsewhere. So what does Princeton need to do to become, in your eyes, a championship team?
Well, right now they're playing the best basketball this season, right? And come Hoopsteria, they will have to do that every night. And do you know that's extremely hard in Hoopsteria, especially with schemes, defenses, coaches, neutral site games. It's a lot going on, and to be a championship team, you have to overcome all that and just be a little bit better. And even though I think Princeton can overcome all that, I don't think they have that little bit to push them over the edge. But I do see
Mhm.
this team as a Sweet 16 team. I think if they get a good bracket, they could even be an Elite Eight and sneak their way into the quad. But it's just that little bit, Marsh, that they
Yeah.
ain't got this yet.
Well, I think Princeton they deservedly should be the number 7 team in the country. I thought they were a number three seed a couple weeks ago when they were still ranked in the teens. I still honestly the fact that they're number seven, you look at the math that would project them as a number two seed. I don't know that they're a number two seed. I think that might honestly be a little high for my blood, a little rich for my blood. But to your point, I don't think they're a championship team because they don't have the scoring, right? They don't shoot the ball well from deep at all. They're 78th in the country. That's the sixth worst. They don't have the number one guy that you turn to. I mean, Tyshawn Penn has had an incredible season here in his sophomore campaign. But they don't have a Cooper Flag. They don't have a Jamison Johnson. They don't have a Cooper Kingy Cross. They don't have a Lemarian Sherwood. And I really do think that matters. But I would also caution this. Just because a team like Princeton does not win a national championship, to your point, if this team makes it to the Sweet 16, to the Elite Eight, maybe making their way into the quad, that's a successful season. Like, I don't think a banner needs to be raised, Sniper, for it to be a good season, particularly for a team like Princeton who came in with zero expectations, making that jump into the American Conference.
100%, Marsh. I mean, this season can definitely be a building block and
Hmm.
like a foundation for Princeton coming up because now they're going to get the experience they need to become that championship team. And now it's up to the coaching staff and the players to build on that for next season and go even further.
Yeah, and their addition into the American Conference, what that means for recruiting, right? Hey, now
Absolutely.
we're in a better conference. We're playing better teams. You can see what we do with no elite recruits. Maybe they start kind of positioning themselves as almost like a Gonzaga, right? Gonzaga dominates in the Mountain West for years, which allows them to get good recruits. They dominate that conference. They make the move to Mountain West, who we're going to get to in a second. Maybe this is the springboard for Princeton, a championship 7, 8 years from now, but it might not come now, but it starts with a season like this, which has been, again, a historic one for the program. All right, let's head to the Mountain West, it is tough to figure out just what is going on in a Mountain West conference that has figured out no one who should be sitting on top is UNLV, currently 4-0 in conference play, 11-10 overall, sits atop the conference, and only Gonzaga, who is 2-2 in the conference, 13-8 overall, is ranked in the top 25. What is happening right now in the Mountain West? What do you make of this conference that just can't figure out if they want to have a dominant program or not?
March, the Mountain West is just conference play right now. I don't think too much into it. It's just teams being competitive in the Mountain West. Um, Gonzaga is the overall favorite, and I think they're going to end up taking the conference. UNLV is off to a fantastic start. I mean, you got to give them credit. 4-0, it's beautiful, right? But it's still a little early. I expect Gonzaga to lay the clamps down and go ahead and claim this later on in a couple weeks.
And do you think they're going to end up playing UNLV in the conference championship game? Because you look at the conference standings, you've got Gonzaga. I mean, so UNLV at the top. Gonzaga's 2-2. San Diego State 2-2. New Mexico 2-2. St. Mary's 2-2. Boise State 2-2. That's five teams who are all in a virtual tie for the second spot in conference play. It's going to come down to these weird tiebreakers, who beat who, what the straight. I mean, it is going to be a chaotic end to this. So if Gonzaga's in the championship, is it because they're meeting UNLV? Or is it because UNLV kind of fades away and somebody else usurps them and we get two teams playing at 8-6 basketball but in the conference championship game?
It's because UNLV falls off, Marsh.
Okay.
Gonzaga is consistent. Gonzaga is going to be there, but they're going to hit a losing streak, and this is just my opinion. But they're going to hit a losing streak, and they're not going to be able to bounce back from it, and that's going to put teams like you said, San Diego State and St. Mary's in position to get in that conference championship game.
And UNLV, they've taken down the notable conference wins so far. New Mexico and St. Mary's, two teams that are ranked, or at one point were ranked in the top 25. They have another matchup with San Diego State and Gonzaga back-to-back nights. They still get round two with New Mexico and St. Mary's. They already took down the upstart Boise State, so they've got the upper leg on a handful of those teams in that 2-2 mark. But it's going to be a chaotic journey. Who do you think ends up? You said Gonzaga ends up winning the conference. Who can make the most noise of the Mountain West in hoops area of the teams that are there? Is it also Gonzaga?
It's also Gonzaga. I mean, I don't see this conference competing at the national stage like other conferences. The conference drama is just conference drama, Marsh. But to
Mhm.
go out there and play with the big boys, you gotta have big boy type of mentality. And the only team that has that right now is Gonzaga in the Mountain West.
And the interesting thing is we're probably going to see at least 5 teams from this we don't really know what they look like Mountain West in hoop stereo, 5 teams at or above 500. And then you mentioned Boise State. They could be a team that sneaks in. We could have 6 Mountain West teams making their way in, and potentially only one of them ranked in the top 25. All right, look, Sniper, we appreciate the deep dive here, changing things up. No need for debate every single morning. We don't have to get the blood roiled up too early. So appreciate you taking the time to come on. We'll do this again. We'll keep you coming back and keep us informed on all things. We'll keep an eye as we move a little bit closer to draft season. We'll get you in, and of course, more hoop stereo projections and reactions as that rolls around. So appreciate you taking the time to join us. For everyone else, don't forget we're always back here every single morning, but doubleheader tonight on CBS. Texas Tech and Texas tips things off at 8 p.m. UCLA, Arizona follows that one up. And of course, our game of the week coming up on Thursday, an SEC duel. Kentucky and Arkansas, 2 potential top 5 picks in the upcoming SWBA draft. Jamison Johnson and Kentucky trying to chase down Arkansas and DJ Wagner. The Razorbacks sitting atop the SEC as we speak. Kentucky trying to climb their way back up. That is Thursday at 8 p.m. All right, again, another thank you to Sniperrr for joining us on the show. Thank you all for tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.